some major firsts happening this week in the Central West End. A huge chess tournament's going on, and the world's best players are in town going for the win.
It's a game of strategy.
It's really a battle of wills.
This week, 4 of the best chess players on the planet are competing in a tournament at the St. Louis Chess Club in the Central West End.
This Sinquefield Cup is really special because it's the strongest tournament ever to be held in the United States. We have the #1 chess player in the world and the highest rated player in chess ever, Magnus Carlsen. He's coming all the way from Norway. He's only 22 years old. And then we've got Aronian, who is the #2 chess player in the world, and he's a national hero in his country, Armenia. In fact, some people flew all the way from Armenia just to watch him play. And then there's 2 top American players, Hikaru Nakamura, who actually lives in St. Louis. He's the #1 chess player in the United States. And then we have the reigning U.S. chess champion, Kamsky.
The first place prize in this tournament, $70,000.
The money is good, but winning on this stage with tens of thousands of people watching all over the world is really the key thing for them.
And by the way, Jennifer Shahadi here, she is kind of a big deal herself.
I've won 2 U.S. Women's Chess Championships. I am the only woman to win the U.S. Junior Open Championship, as far as I remember, yes.
Now, the tournament hall, this is standing room only in here, but the better seat could be in front of a computer screen because there are cameras everywhere ready to catch all the action.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cameras to be exact.
This is where we're going to be doing our play-by-play commentary. We've got Grandmaster Maurice Ashley. He's going to be actually using this board to highlight key moments, blunders, brilliancies. He's the first African-American Grandmaster. Grandmaster Yasser Sarawan and I, we're sitting over here and we're looking at all of the games. There's only 2 in this case. We are going to be doing analysis, thinking, well, what would have happened if he had done this?
And now that you've put the pawn on a dark square and we have this dark square bishop, maybe we start to eyeball what you've just said, bringing our bishop back to e1.
So even if you're not into chess just yet, come by and check out chess prodigy Magnus Carlsen. He was, after all, named one of Cosmo UK's sexiest men of 2013.
Magnus Carlsen, the 22 years old, is playing for the World Championship later this year. And this is his last serious event before he plays the World Championship. So to me, that's just incredibly exciting and a great honor that he chose St. Louis as his last training ground, basically.
Well, the tournament got underway yesterday. USA's Nakamura, he came out on top. So did Norway's Magnus. It's happening at the St. Louis Chess Club in the Central West End through September 15th. Tournament starts up again at 1 o'clock today. You can buy a ticket. You can go watch it live on a TV at the Chess Club. You can watch it in the Chess Hall of Fame or in Lester's in the Central West End. You can also watch it online. Find out more info at St. Louis Chess Club.
The world will be watching St. Louis. The best in the U.S. The best in the world. Only one will be king. The Sinquefield Cup.
Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another great chess video for you. This is a classic example of why you should always continue playing. And you'll see this is the last game, round 6 of the Sinquefield Cup, first annual, played in St. Louis, Missouri yesterday on the 15th of September 2013. It's between Magnus Carlsen, world's rated #1, against Aronian. I believe he's rated #3 now in the world. Could be 2. He goes back and forth. It's a heck of a game. It's a hell of a game. It's a closed reload pay. One of the anti-Marshall systems. Take a look at it here. Knight F6. Castles. Pretty much standard stuff. Bishop E7. Rook E1, B5, bishop back. We've all seen this a million times. It's pretty much standard relay stuff. Castles. I want to tell you up front here, this game, if Levin Aronian wins this game as black, there'll be a three-way tie for first place in the Sinquefield Cup between Aronian, Carlsen, and Nakamura. If Carlsen wins, he wins clear first place. Nakamura will be second, Aronian third, and Kamsky fourth. So, being a Nakamura fan, I'm really rooting hard for Levin Aronian. We'll see how it works out. A4 pushes the pawn D4. This is a position that's been seen a gazillion times. I like it though. It's open stuff. It's an E4 opening, which I usually use as white. I don't get many real pays though when I'm white. It always seem to get Sicilians all the time. D6. Now as we can see, it opens up for the light squared bishop and also reinforces the pawn. D takes, queen takes, rook takes. Now you're probably thinking, you know, queen's off the board. It's pretty boring stuff. Well, there's 8 minor pieces and 14 pawns and 4 rooks. There's a ton of play left, even without queens. For those beginners out there, not having your queen doesn't mean you can't mount an attack. Knight, pawn, A5. This is almost exactly even position currently, so I think it was good that black got equality, especially against Magnus Carlsen, fairly early in the game, which means Levin Aronian's pushing. He's really trying to win. Carlsen could be the greatest player in the world. I believe that he is right now. But one thing he's not as good at as some of the world elite is his opening preparation. He really doesn't need it. His middle game, end game technique is stunning. So we'll see how this works out. Bishop C5, Bishop C4, knight. That knight move, frankly, I'm not sure why he made it. We go back here. The computer calls for it, oddly enough, or bishop to G4 is probably what I would have played. Rook D2. Granny's going after this pawn to make the rook move, but I just don't see it there. Bishop E6, bishop takes, F takes. I was really surprised when Aronian went bishop to E6 to double up those center pawns. And you're going to see later, he's really going to regret that. H3, knight to F6, moves the knight back. Rook E1, rook A to B8, knight to C4. Now the computer did that. I guess it's trying to say that the red arrows are attack and the green arrows defend. That white's ganging up on the E5 pawn. Yeah, no kidding. Rook to B5, B3, just to shore up that knight. Things are getting locked up on the queen side. You're going to see here they get pretty locked up. Bishop to D4, bishop B2, rook, rook, bishop takes, rook takes. Looks pretty locked up here. And the computer gives a small advantage for black right now. Not much to speak of, about a half a pawn. I'll tell you the truth, I'm looking at white's position here and it's okay, but it's nothing outstanding. I mean, this pawn here is way backwards, which means this rook is blocked in. Black's got double pawns here. Now I'll tell you, if this pawn was here, black would be outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. So far, I don't think Magnus has really played that accurately to get in this position. Now, this is a move I wouldn't have thought of, but now that I look at it, it makes perfect sense. Knight to E8. I guess he's going to try to reroute the knight. Rook to A2 to defend the A5 pawn. Knight to D6. Knight, bishop B7. And here we go. The computer did that. It's got 3 attackers, 2 defenders. You're 1 defender short. Knight to F3. King to F7. Why he did that, I really don't know. Maybe he's worried about some knight intrusions here and then here maybe. Because all the pieces are all conglomerated over on the queen side. If you can see, everything from here over is basically where the action is. King to F1, get his king towards the center. Even with all these pieces on the board, I think he's looking for an endgame with a king in the center. King F6, Rook A4 to go after the pawn here for whatever it's worth. It's going to be hard for him to attack it again. Knight takes finally. Now, that would be a move I think we all would make. Knight takes that pawn to win a pawn. A pawn is a pawn is a pawn. And I'm a pawn grubber too, to a certain extent. But you're going to see later, even though the computer calls for it, Aronian has a hell of a time after he takes that pawn. Knight to E3, H5 to stop the advance. Rook over to hit the knight again. Rook to D4. Now look at black here. This rook has to defend that knight, and this knight has to defend that knight. As Rush Sinquefield, the founder of the St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center, says, those knights are codependent. And it freezes all those pieces. Of your 4 major pieces, 3 of them are frozen. I don't think it's worth the pawn. I think he should have waited and went after it after, as you'll see. Knight to E1. Knight takes. Doesn't work because after E takes, knight to C4, knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes. You get a pawn and a knight and 2 pawns for a rook. And believe it or not, it's a big advantage for black. After knight to E1, king to E7. Now he's going to bring his king around, I think. Going to bring it around here to come up to defend this pawn. So we can release this knight to go somewhere. I think that's the plan for black. It's a long ways to go, but the position's closed. You should have time. F3 just to shore up his E-pawn. Rook to D2. Rook over. Rook to D6. Now you can see why white won't take. Because what will happen is pawn will take and come down. These pawns will be connected. And it'll be a world of hurt for white's center. Rook A to D1. There we are. This rook is frozen. This knight is frozen. I still don't think it was worth the pawn. King to D7. King to D1. Now, through the next few moves, you're going to see quite a bit of maneuvering. The computer says 0.00 or a tiny advantage for black or white. It might as well say it's drawn. And it looks drawn. And a draw, Aronian can't take. I believe it was around now or a couple of moves after this. Actually, Aronian offered Carlsen a draw. And he refused it. Rook to D2, knight to F2. I mean, this Carlsen kid, in a way, I don't know if he does it for the same reasons as Bobby Fischer, but the result is the same. He'll play you down the bare kings, or you get in the position that's just so dead it's pointless. And he said that in interviews over and over. You know, be prepared to play down to bare kings if that's the way it goes. All players, especially their level, should be prepared to do that. Now, this is a pretty dead position. Wasn't for those double pawns, black would be fine. If he hadn't taken this quote-unquote free pawn, he would be fine. And they're looking, and they're looking, and they're looking, and they're looking, the two of them, especially black. How do you free yourself? How does this knight get free? Even if you can bring the king around to guard this pawn, it's getting hit twice by these two rooks. It means you got to defend it again with a king and another piece. Black's kind of dug himself a hole, oddly enough, and the computer shows him about a lousy quarter of a pawn advantage. King to c8, here he comes. Knight after d3, sealing in this rook. h4, rook to b5. h4. This stops this pawn here from advancing later. King to b7. Here comes the king to guard that pawn. Rook up, in case he wants to move this knight in the future. King to a7. Now he's going back and forth. King to g1. King to b6. King to f1. I think this is around now when Aronian asked him for a draw and Carlsen said no. g6. King to g1. King to b7. Everything's locked. Can't do anything. It's a dead position, right? Carlsen plays on. King f1. King c8. Pretty exciting stuff, huh? But you're going to see things start to change quickly here. Knight to f2. Rook to d8. Now, you're going to see he had to move that rook because the threat now is knight here. And then king here, trapping that rook. The rook had to escape by going to d8. Now the knight comes up. Right now the position is 0.00, dead even though black is up a pawn. King to b7, king to e2, king to b6. I mean, this thing's going nowhere, right? King to e3, king to b7, knight to d1, king to c8, knight over, rook up, rook to a1. Now this is where Aronian miscues, and miscues fairly badly. The computer suggests rook to d4. This move here, which makes perfect sense. He goes king to d8. And just like that, instantly, it went from a tiny advantage for white to almost a 2-point advantage for white instantly. And you'll see why. It's coming. Knight to c4, knight takes, pawn takes, rook to b8, c5. Now that's his move 53. And it's funny, I'm watching the commentators, and of course this is the only game left. The Nakamura game, Kamsky game was over. That ended in a draw. That was the video I made prior to this. So they're trying to keep this as exciting as possible. It's tough. Told a lot of stories, moved a lot of different variations, went to the computer, and they saw this rook sack exchange, but he didn't take it. Right now I think black is busted. There's not much he can do. He should play, computer suggests rook takes d3, king takes a5. But what he does is a double question mark move, rook to d7. Now it is almost a 4-point advantage for black. I think what happened, Carlsen hung in there. and he hung in there, and he hung in there. And you said, well, he didn't play the best chess. His opponent made a mistake. Well, it still counts. When you keep the pressure on, keep the pressure on, keep the pressure on. It's like I say all the time in American baseball. Why did you try to take that base? You were thrown out the very last second. Well, my opponent is going to have to play perfect in order to stop me. And that's what Carlsen does. The pressure, the pressure, the pressure. One miscue, the game is over. Now, right now, Black's in a lot of trouble. And I think what happened was, and it's happened to me before, not that I'm as good as Aronian, who's an elite world-class player, but the mental part of it's still the same. Human beings are still human beings, whether you're rated 2,700 or you're rated 1,700. Is the entire time my opponent knows the worst he can do is draw. He can't lose this game unless he does something incredibly stupid. So he continues to play on, waiting for you to make a mistake. That's a tough mental state to be in if you're the person that the best you can do is draw. And that's what I think Magnus did. He just played on. He's got nothing to lose. How would you like it if you could walk into a gambling casino and the worst you could do is break even? Or draw in chess, same thing. I'd gamble all the time. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't continue playing if the worst you can do is break even? So Magnus pressed on. And then he caught 11 asleep. He even said later in the interview he made some really bad moves. After rook to d7, Magnus jumps. Rook to a6. And then b3. He's grasping at straws now. He's looking at tricks. I think after knight to d4, rook to a8, rook takes, king to e7, knight takes check, king to e2, b3, knight takes, king takes is a huge advantage for white. Absolutely gigantic. He's up the full exchange. But he's up really a lot more than that too. After b3, rook takes c6, pawn takes pawn, knight to e1, attacking the pawn and guarding the queening square at the same time. Tough. Tough, tough, tough. If rook had taken e6 instead for white, king to c8, c6, rook to d4, and white's just got this huge, huge advantage. After knight to e1, king to e7, I think rook to d1 would have been desperation. Knight takes, rook to b3, king to e2, rook takes, knight takes, rook to b2 check, king to d3, king to d7. And white's a full piece up. After king to e7, knight takes the pawn. The only saving grace he had was maybe that pawn, and now that's gone. Rook to b3 check, king to e2, rook to b2, rook to c1. And it goes on for 6 or 8 more moves, and it's really pointless to go into it. I only analyzed to here. About 4, 5, 6 moves in, 11 played on. And you could tell that Carlsen was a little bit irritated because I was watching it on live video Sunday. But I'll tell you the truth, it's funny, I've said this before. There's the emotional part of your mind, and then there's the logical part of your mind. And when the logical part of your mind knows the game is over and you've lost, but if the emotional part of your mind hasn't accepted that yet, you have to wait for the two to come together. And eventually they do. I don't think this was an insult on Levin's part to Magnus. I just think he wasn't ready emotionally yet to resign, and he finally did. So Magnus Carlsen wins the first annual Sinquefield Cup. They've already announced at the press conference, which will be shown in this video, the press conference after, and some of the interviews with Levin and Magnus after the game. They've announced they're going to have it again in 2014. This was the highest average rated tournament in the history of the United States. The average rating was just under 2,800. Holy crow. Can you imagine that? It was a great tournament. Carl had his chances. He came in second. I believe first place was 70,000 and second place was either 40 or 50,000. Not bad for a week and a half, 2 weeks worth of work. Carl's also from St. Louis, so he didn't have to go all the travel time and all that in the hotels. I heard it was a great tournament. They had great meet and greets before. The lines were around the block. They signed tons of autographs and signed tons of pictures. And I love to see that, especially in the States. That kind of spotlight on chess. It can do nothing but do good things. Magnus being in the World Championship later this November can do nothing but good things for chess. Being he's so young, younger people can associate with him. And to be perfectly frank, a lot of the girls like him for his looks and his age and his mental ability, which will bring more women into the world of chess, which I think it would be nothing but a good thing as well. Anyway, folks, enough of my ramblings. That's the game for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. And I want to thank all the new subscribers that I've gotten in the last couple of weeks, several dozen. And I also want to thank my round one coverage of this tournament. Over 1,000 views. That's a lot. I've never, ever gotten that many before on a video that I've done here. And I very, very much appreciate it. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
You needed, of course, a win in order to have any chances, and you put up an amazing fight. Where did it go wrong?
Well, I had a big advantage, and I played like an idiot. I mean, I don't need to play knight b7. I just can play knight b5, knight to c3, add a knight to d4. Should be technically winning, but then I just, anyway, just played all the wrong ideas, all the wrong moves, because I just felt that I have to win immediately, which was really silly. Just put the knight on c3, knight on d4, and it's, I don't know, I don't think it's defendable for white.
We had noticed this idea ourselves, and we're a bit surprised you took an a5. Why did you say you had to win immediately? What was the feeling going on when you were playing? I just
blundered knight e1, because I felt that I just take, and then rook a1, rook e4, and knight e1 came as a shocker, and then I started playing ridiculous moves. I mean, I should be better anyway, but it's already, once after f3, is very solid. And of course, I mean, losing that position is just embarrassing.
Were you shocked when he played the move, when you offered the draw and he declined it? Was that a surprise for you?
Not really, because, I mean, it's clear that this is the white who's playing already.
So, but he would have won 70 grand cold just saying yes to a draw offer, and there is a chance he might blunder after all. Why did he play on?
Yeah, but we're not really playing for money here. We're playing for, you know, we're playing chess, because you have to be objective.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for your fighting spirit and your candor and honesty. And congratulations on your third place finish. We look forward to seeing more of you in the United States. It was really an honor and a pleasure to have you, to host you here in St. Louis. And best of luck in your tournaments for the rest of the year.
Thanks.
Number 2 in the world, Aronian at the Sinquefield.
Thank you.
Magnus, it looked like you were suffering through this game. I mean, you play this variation in the Ruy Lopez, and it looked like Black had taken over the position. Were you concerned at some point that you might lose somewhere in the early middle game, maybe around move 30?
Yeah, absolutely. He completely outplayed me in the middle game, and I was really worried about my position because all I can do is wait. fortunately, my position still has some, inherent solidity, and that's what saved me.
Indeed. There's a moment he took on a5. When he played knight takes a5, he could have maneuvered his knight to b5 and then to c3. Were you worried about that maneuver? Maybe another knight's dropping on the d4 square instead of taking on a5?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought he'd move around, perhaps take the pawn later. I think perhaps he had overestimated this resource, rook d4. Maybe he'd missed my idea of knight d1, knight d3. And then my position is reasonably solid, and I think I should hold.
Now, by then, when you're holding, everyone's thinking, okay, this is a draw. And then he offered you a draw, the cup, 70 grand, and you said no.
Yeah.
That was a stunning moment for us. Why did you say no at this moment when you could only play for less as opposed to the same thing if you just accepted a draw?
Well, I thought he'd lost control by then completely, and I really didn't see the harming in continuing a little bit because I didn't see how he could possibly improve his position, while I have some little plans of probing both on the king side and on the queen side. Fortunately, he collapsed pretty easily there.
But you had nothing to gain. I mean, this was a moment where you had absolutely nothing to gain, except, of course, the win, a few rating points. I mean, obviously, that is a plus. But you also could have potentially blundered. I don't think I've ever seen, Yasser saying the same, a player have all that just being handed to him, and he says, you know what, I'll get it my way. Was that in your mind at all, that you really wanted to win the game as opposed to just draw?
Well, part of the reason is I simply wanted to play chess here in this tournament, and I didn't have much of an opportunity to do that in the first part of the games. I mean, first part of this game I was just defending, and I thought when I finally had an opportunity, when I finally had the better position, I needed to try and use that.
You made a quote last year that we've shown in the broadcast that you don't believe draw offers should happen in games. We've seen this happen, of course, in tournaments where people take draws in 3 moves. Is this part of your philosophy of chess, that it should be a fighting game as opposed to all these draw offers we've seen in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. I made some bad decisions of refusing draws in the past. In this tournament, when a draw was offered, in all cases the position was completely dead, so it wasn't a big deal. But it was a little bit of a gamble, but I thought I'm not risking too much anyway, and winning the last game would be so sweet. So.
Indeed, absolutely. Do you have any thoughts on the organization of this tournament?
Yeah, I'm very happy with everything. It's been a great week, and I hope to be back someday. Will
you be back? Is that your intention, indeed?
It all depends on the dates, but I'm really hoping to.
Well, thanks so much. A final thought. This is your last game before the World Championship. What will you be doing between now and then? What should we expect as you go for the World Championship title?
Oh, I'll be fine-tuning my game a bit, obviously working on openings and such. But I feel that I'm playing relatively good, at least, so I don't have too many worries there.
Well, thanks so much for your play here, for your fighting spirit, and congratulations on being the champion of the inaugural Sinquefield Cup.
Thank you.
World number 1, Magnus Carlsen, cementing his legacy so far and trying to do so as maybe world champion in Chennai. We'll be following him, as should you.
Chess here in St. Louis. St. Louis is quickly becoming known as the destination for chess in the United States and hopefully around the world. With events like this, I want Linares, Vaikanze, all of the other names or cities that you think of in the chess world. I want St. Louis to be included as part of that. And again, thanks to the generosity and the vision and the dedication of Rex and Jeannie, we're here today. So it is without further ado that I'm happy to introduce our founder, Rex Sinquefield.
Thank you, Tony. First of all, I want to start off by introducing a frequent visitor to our big chess events, the Mayor of St. Louis, the Honorable Francis Slay.
Well, first of all, good evening to everyone, and to the players, welcome to St. Louis. I've met a couple of you before, but to have you here at the Chess Club and Scholastic Center in St. Louis is a thrill and an honor. What this organization has done for our city is something that is very difficult to describe, but we consider ourselves, and we've been named the Chess City of America, and we're very, very proud of it. And as Tony Rich was saying, that you know, we with the support and the vision of Rex and Jeannie Sinquefield, we want to do more as a city in that regard. This is an incredible event. As I understand it, the highest rated event, chess event in St. Louis or in the United States of America. So that's something we're very, very proud of, and certainly we wouldn't be here with this if we didn't have these talented players who agreed to come and participate. So on behalf of the people of St. Louis, we're thrilled to have you here. We're honored to have you in our city, and certainly want to congratulate all of you in your successes in chess, and certainly are looking to watch you as you go further with chess nationally and internationally as well. So I wish you all the very, very best. But to all the guests that are here from out of town, it's always a thrill to have you here. And as I said, with this quality organization, we're very, very proud to be, you know, really a player nationally and internationally in the chess world, and we want to continue to be. So thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Rex, and certainly look forward to some more great events in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are so many people to thank. I don't know where to begin, but I have to begin somewhere. So first of all, did we not have the best commentators in the history of chess? And then to Joy Bray and Tony Rich and all of their associates, they did an amazing job organizing and running this event. Thank you so much, all of you. And I, of course, especially want to thank the players and for being so accommodating of all of your fans. You know, that's quite a burden, the way they crowd you, but I saw how generously you gave of your time, and we thank you very much for that. How ironic in this city, which all Americans know is the greatest sports city in the United States. It has that name, and next door at Lester's, the best sports bar in St. Louis, yesterday the manager said he has never seen the place so full. And what caused it but not a football or baseball game, but a chess match? What a wonderful thing. And I'm also delighted that Magnus and Levon got to go to a baseball game. And I hope you understand how important it is that you go back to your countries and tell your governments that baseball should be your national sport. So, Jeannie, if you will come up, we'll present the trophy. So, Magnus Carlsen, it's our honor and privilege to present you with this first Sinquefield Cup. Congratulations.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you so
Would you
much.
like to say a couple of words? Would you be willing to?
Uh,
I'll get this here so you can talk.
yeah. I don't have too much to add. I'd like to thank Rex and Jeannie again for a wonderful tournament, and if everything goes well, I'll be back.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will say, now that you've been to St. Louis, you know where it is and you know how to get here. We expect you to come back frequently, and Levon also.
And just one more thing, I do not necessarily agree on the whole baseball thing. But it's always interesting to see a game that resembles chess at least a little bit.
Thank you. So as I alluded to before, make sure you stay tuned for maybe 11 months or so from now. I am proud to announce to you that we will be hosting the 2014 Sinquefield Cup here at the Chess Club and Scholastic Center as well. So in closing, I would like to thank you all once again for joining us. I'm sure that the players have enjoyed seeing all of their fans and all of the reporters and making sure that the brilliancies that they have demonstrated over the chessboard have reached the masses. I want to thank all of our spectators, obviously. It's because of you that the event was so successful. There's a real electricity in the air, a real feel of competition. And I would challenge anyone who says that chess is not a sport to come enjoy one day of commentary and watching the competitors. And finally, I would like to thank the players. Without them, this event wouldn't have been possible. Thank you all very much.